All right, well, this is DevOps Dispatch Live, and we are at KubeCon Chicago, North America 2023. I got it all in there in one go. My name is Santamaria, and I am a lead developer advocate here at Dell and one of your hosts. And I have two very special guests with me today. Easy, do you want to start?
Yes, thank you for having me. I am Ezequiel Lanza. I work as an AI open source evangelist on the Open at Intel team.
Okay.
Intel.
Excellent. And
hi, I am Katherine Druckman. I am also an open source evangelist. I'm more in the kind of security area.
Okay. So we're here at KubeCon, North America 2023. Like, what's cool? What's new? What's exciting? You know, obviously we're also saying hi to people outside the booth because this is very much like we're in a fishbowl, which is kind of fun. But what do y'all think? Like, what's going on new in the community right now that caught your attention?
So many things. First, there are so many people here. It's wonderful. And I love to say how open source people are the best people.
Yes.
They're
yes,
also,
they are.
They're very interesting. We're an interesting group, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot going on. I'm really I would say heartened. As I mentioned, I'm interested in security. I would say I'm heartened to see how much emphasis on security there is right now. Of course, I think we all know that open source software security is under a bit of a microscope right now. There's a lot of attention paid. Companies, the governments are scrutinizing open source. Maybe unfairly. That's a conversation for another time.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything inherently less safe about open source software. But it does have slightly different concerns and different ways of addressing those concerns.
Right.
So I like to see a lot of energy around security, and I'm seeing that here, which is pretty cool.
That's very cool. Easy, are you also seeing like kind of that focus? Are you seeing anything on AI?
Yes, my answer could be a bit biased about AI,
Yep,
of course.
we have our biases. Own them.
No, I think that there is a hype about AI with LLMs, generative
Yes.
AI, and so on. What we can see here is that it's okay with AI and everything, but we need to use the security. We need to find a way to implement it.
Right.
So accelerate or whatever, but we need the platform ready for that. So this is what I'm seeing in Kubernetes or the cloud-native environment is that we need projects, and there's growing the amount of projects using AI for the benefit of the algorithm of the platform, but it's also a way on how to make it easier to implement.
Right.
Because for the AI perspective, the way to growth is you need to have the ecosystem ready, you need to have open source projects, and so on.
Yeah, really interesting. So I guess, where do we want to go next? We could talk a little bit about just
Well,
AI
it's
and
funny.
security.
Yeah, AI and security are. It's fun. Again, we are super biased. We
mean,
work
that's
together and we have our interests, but the overlap between AI and security is really exciting right now, and that's an exciting conversation because every time, and I do the exact same thing you do. I talk to people all day, every day, right? And
Right.
I interview people in the same way, doing a podcast for Intel. But every person, when I ask, especially security people, when I ask, what are you really excited about right now? They're very optimistic about the role that AI plays in making security easier.
Really?
Potentially. That maybe that we're at an inflection point where maybe we're going to start to see some interesting AI solutions, AI tooling. There's the OpenSSF launched, and I'm gonna mess this up, right?
It's okay.
But they announced an initiative, kind of like a hackathon type of a challenge, right? To build security tools with AI, the joining of security and AI. And I think we're about to see a lot of innovation. I don't necessarily think it's here.
Yeah.
But again, there's a lot of optimism. There's a lot of hope that AI could play a part, right?
Yeah. I could see that. I guess the interesting thing is I've always heard more about how generative AI kind of causes some more problems because people go and they write code, but they don't quite know what it means. But it's interesting to hear that there's maybe that other angle that people might be starting to look at. Because, of course, everybody looks at the hype train and goes, oh, I'm going to be a pessimist about it. So it's just interesting to hear there's the optimist version.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, I think that ChatGPT and all these tools, I mean, this kind of algorithms, generative AI, they existed for 5 years or 6 years.
Yeah.
But now it was a good hype. I mean, it's very good for the technology. because now most people that is not technical or there's not AI developers, PhDs or so on, they can understand the power that you can get using AI.
Right.
And they can solve a problem, they can try to give you insights or whatever. That is something that in the past, most people didn't know it.
Right.
Because it was AI, machine learning, wasn't clear, it was related with data and so on. But now they imagine or they say, okay, probably we can use that to solve a problem with security. Or probably with other kinds of problems, we can say not particularly LLMs or ChatGPT. I think that it was great to make the people know that there is a technology that is not a real person. That is
Right.
another conversation that most people can believe that it's a real person, though it has a personality. It's
Yeah.
just a model that does word by word. But it enabled a lot of new use cases and creativity to
Yeah.
non-technical people. I think that's the main key
For generative AI.
for
Yeah.
generative AI, for LLMs, and for AI in general.
Oh, okay.
Because now, you know, the hype, you know that there is the chasm that the technology has to cross to be, I know, known and so on.
Right.
And now we are at that point with generative AI or with LLMs or with AI.
Right.
When non-technical people start to think about AI and how it can help on my business, this is when we start to really grow in technology.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. So how is security and AI like looking right now? Because you're saying that like they're starting this hackathon, they're kind of starting that process. Are you all starting to see people really jumping on board?
I wouldn't say that exactly. I think it's a little bit too early. I think we're early
Gotcha.
in the process.
Okay.
I think people are getting their ducks in a row in order to jump
okay.
in. That's my impression.
Yeah.
It's people are kind of doing the
Yeah.
behind the scenes, doing the preparation to try and figure out even how to approach it. Right, you have to kind of plan your attack. Right, security, everything is like
Yep.
a war metaphor, but you have to kind of figure out how to even approach the problem. I think before you can figure out how to solve it, especially with an AI tool. But I have this impression that, especially with generative AI tools. In fact, I talked to Nithya Ruff from Amazon
Right.
at the previous conference, and we talked about this, about generative AI coding tools. And you just mentioned the concerns about, there were concerns about licensing, for example,
Right.
or concerns about lowering the bar, right? So anybody can generate some code that they don't necessarily understand.
Right.
But what I'm also seeing from my perspective is a lot of agility, an agile response to community concerns. Like
Right.
I want to say a year ago, there was so much conversation around GitHub Copilot in particular. And Amazon
Yes.
has a coding assistant. Apologies for my friends at Amazon for not remembering the name. But I feel like the response from those companies was pretty quick to integrate some licensing information or to address the concerns of the community. So I think we're probably going to see the same thing, right, with security and AI. I think it obviously behooves companies to be agile in their response to concern.
Right.
So I'm still cautiously optimistic, I'll say.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and also I think that it goes together with responsible AI or explainable AI, because even if you have the models and everything, now people is starting to use it, or they would like to use it in security, for instance, and people is using that
Right.
in open source projects, in everywhere. So you need companies that they are doing that thing, for instance. They are now sharing the data that they are using to train the models. They are trying to build these responsible AI layers and so on to avoid biases and to avoid everything. And this is what I see, is that because this is growing from the community or from the people that is starting to use it, and they want to use it because they see it as useful.
Right.
If I would like to write a code, I ask to copilot, and it gives me the code, or it helped me to develop the code.
Right.
So it's just starting, of course, as Katherine said, but there will be new technologies. Responsible AI will be growing. Explainable AI will be growing, because you need to give reasons
Yeah.
to use it and to implement it in a real case scenario. One thing is research, and it's good in papers, and it's everywhere. But once you like to use it, when you have regulations and you have multiple things,
Yeah.
you need to find alternative mechanisms to use it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I also wonder kind of, what we might see on the horizon. You talk about DevOps, right?
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
That's your kind of wheelhouse here. When you talk about all of the, let's say, points of failure, potential failure
Yes.
in a CI/CD system, or any points of vulnerability, I wonder what kind of AI-related tooling we might start to see that plugs into people's pipelines and detects things, analyzes, is maybe a little bit more efficient. It makes tiny little iterative improvements that are at their root AI based. I'm curious. I'm anxious to see what people come up with. I think it's going to be interesting.
And probably it's not even LLM, generative AI. It's probably something very simple, very old that it's get results.
I've seen people tinkering with projects that I don't even want to say them because I don't necessarily think they're public yet. But I've seen people tinkering with sort of almost like an extra human in your process, but that instead of a human, it's an AI entity that you're then plugging in to evaluate threat modeling and all of that sort of stuff. Yep. And I've seen some interesting experimental kind of efforts there, and that's interesting.
I think there's been like some machine learning efforts like before.
Sure, that too.
I think those are evolving to start using AI now.
Yeah.
I also don't know that I can say anything that I've seen.
Exactly,
kind of thing.
right. We see things.
But it's kind of that like the trend is coming. The trend is like slowly building up some momentum. I'm going to be interested to see if the general hype train dying down from ChatGPT and OpenAI is going to then affect the take-up of these other projects as well. Yeah. So that'll be an interesting thing to see whether that actually gets affected or not.
Yeah, maybe if there's like some of the really cool, valuable stuff is kind of still hidden under a rock that we haven't unturned. Yeah,
and also whether that cool, valuable stuff, some people go, oh, it's just another one of those things. I've already seen it. I hope not. I hope not, because I think that we're, there's definitely some great value there.
Yeah.
But maybe too many people have been using it to make, interesting haikus. Or, yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's what I use it for. Haikus for Mastodon. I don't know about y'all.
There was a poetry slam at the Contributor Summit for Kubernetes, and basically everybody was just plugging into ChatGPT. Give me a poem for Kubernetes. Yeah, exactly. So hopefully that has not poisoned people's view of AI in general, right?
No, but at least we have the conversation. I mean, it allows us to start a conversation, to start thinking about that. It was a Stable Diffusion in the past also. I mean, in the past. 2 years ago is the past now. But when
time has no meaning anymore.
No,
exactly.
Yes, absolutely. But Stable Diffusion was the same. I mean, you wanted to find an image with a prompt, and it gives you an image that is great.
Yeah.
And most people started to realize that thing. So it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I guess I wasn't really thinking a ton about plugging AI into security pipelines and things like that. So it's going to be kind of fascinating to look at overall.
It's funny, though, that every conversation, though, I have to say, almost every conversation I'm involved in somehow leads back to AI, even with people who aren't very involved. Yeah, people really want to talk about it. And I mean, that's kind of the great thing about being in the open source world, right? Is we're always looking kind of a little bit ahead on the horizon. We may not fully understand it yet. We may only understand a tiny piece. We only may understand our tiny piece.
Right.
But there's always this kind of hopeful future that we all kind of see and are kind of trying to run toward. And that's the fun part for me.
Yeah. And it's also DevOps or MLOps. It's we talk about AI, machine learning, and so on, but in the entire solution to detect something, AI is just a little part of it.
Right.
So it will be the thing that probably can give you an insight, or it could give you a prediction, or it could give you something. But you need to have the knowledge to build a solution around that. You need to know the DevOps flow, MLOps, how to update it. I mean, it's another conversation that is more operations or DevOps conversation.
Right.
Instead of research or focusing on the algorithm and the ChatGPT and so on. The algorithm could be very simple, but you also need to know how to use it. So you can call everything AI, and this is another blurry part, which is AI.
Right.
And it's everything is the application, is the system. It's
Do you think maybe we can? So we AI has a lot of medical applications, right? Diagnostic applications. I wonder if we can apply a lot of that approach and that way of thinking and training and whatnot to security problems.
I mean, you can.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah.
The thing I'm thinking about with AI is so many different open source projects are struggling for contributors, but more struggling for that glue work that needs to get done, like managing things, handling projects, making sure that, annual reports are written. I was just interviewing somebody about that earlier for the Kubernetes project. But it would be interesting to see, like, could we plug in AI to kind of help bridge these gaps when so many people aren't comfortable coming in as a no-code contributor or a low-code
That's
contributor?
a great question.
It would be interesting to see about bringing AI in from an open source project like that.
Well, just from a basic efficiency, getting stuff done angle.
Yeah,
A lot of these,
exactly.
chat GPT type tools are incredibly useful for getting that kind of basic glue where, you need to write summarize a blog post. Here you go. There's a lot of good that can come out. Hype aside, there's a lot of practical use for these things, and if that does make people's lives easier in that kind of the less glamorous parts that still absolutely have to get done. Hey, why not?
But you need to know. You need to trust on the thing that you're doing.
Yeah. This is a conversation I had recently too. It's really great if you have expertise. It's really great at kind of helping you get stuff done. But if when we go back to the thing where this is not my area of expertise, then it starts to get a little dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting to think about what that could be, or how that could help. Like, one example is contributors trying to justify their time spent to their upper leadership. Well, we can give general metrics, but what if you could just say, hey, I need ones for me to give to my boss? Because you don't have enough people to do that for you, but if you're not comfortable doing it. But there is that level of trust. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we are getting slowly close to time. Were you about to say something? No, you can keep talking if you want.
Yes, please do.
I'm curious. Like AI,
the world needs to hear more from Easy.
I don't remember what I was going to say. No, I always would like to focus on the part of explaining how to trust in the models. It's the way to trust. You need to build those trustworthy models. Because even if you have the solution, I know every time I ask something to ChatGPT, I don't know if I trust 100% of the time is what they say. And the model can look very confident in the answer. So he's confident. It's confident. So did you trust? I mean, that could be another part of that. So for me, it's more like a tool. As it was 20 years ago, I don't know, Word documents with it and everything. For me, it's more like one tool that it takes time people to believe in the tool and so on.
It'll be interesting to see that trust, how that might change as the kids now grow older, because they're already used to it. They're already expecting it. They maybe are better at crafting prompts. Not right now, but I mean, maybe they will become better at crafting prompts than we are, and in which case they're going to get better data back. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see.
We probably will waste more time writing prompts.
I know.
Instead of doing the thing that you have to do, you will lose a lot of time trying to write the correct prompt to get your answer.
Yeah, you never know.
But it will be improving, of course.
Interesting.
And it should be improving.
Yeah. Be pretty cool.
Yeah.
So we are near the end of time. I want to give everybody a chance to plug their latest thing, plug their latest idea. So do either of you want to go first? Easy's going to go first.
Yes,
what do you want to plug?
Yes, I can go first with the AI part. I think that there's a trend or something that it's happening with the optimizations, because now most people would like to use the models, as we are saying. And most people think that you need a hardware, that you need a GPU, and so on. But there's an important part that how we can use it and how you can optimize the model in a very technical way, right? So you need to do the reduction of the model. You have to make it fit on devices, could be CPUs or whatever. But there's another trend that is going on the optimizations. And you could be worried about training the model, getting the data, and so on. But as we said, DevOps, MLOps is more when you have the model, it's trained, it's ready, and you need to find a place to use it in an optimized way. So this is one of the.
So what's your plug?
What is?
I think what you meant to say is go check out Ezequiel Lanza
Exactly.
at open.intel.com.
Oh, there we
Exactly. And there is,
I'm pretty sure that's what I heard.
go. I just heard some really awesome stuff, and I was kind of like, okay, cool.
yes, okay.
Yes.
And that's it's what we used to publish in our site.
Okay.
Open.intel.
Open.intel.com.
We
Got
have
it. Mm-hmm.
our Medium channel, also over at Intel. That's my part. Your part is the other. But yes, we have used to post a lot of things related with not only Intel hardware or Intel stuff.
Yeah.
It's more on how you optimize models, how you can be more efficient when you are developing a model.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. Very cool.
I feel like if I read enough of it, I'll start to understand what he just said.
I feel like I need to start reading
I
more.
know,
so.
it's good stuff. I read it. Yeah, so a quick plug. I do a podcast, also open.intel.com/podcast. Yeah, you can find
Very
that
cool.
there, and I'll leave it at that. Read our stuff, please, and give us feedback and say hi. And all
Yeah.
those things.
Reach out, because that's what we do,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Reach out, ask questions, have a conversation.
Interesting.
Well, this has been another episode of DevOps Dispatch Live at KubeCon North America Chicago 2023. My name is Laura.
Ezequiel.
And,
Katherine Druckman.
and we are all just going to say bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.